All right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the Drive Time Show. We are the right guys. I am Reverend Ralph J. Chittams Sr. And of course, in the chair sitting next to me is none other than
Lonnie Poindexter, and we are broadcasting to you from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., via FHR Media and the Exceptional Conservative Network.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and just by way of introduction, understand that we are humans by race, Christians by faith, Americans by nationality, and conservatives by choice, because that is the only position that makes any sense at all. And
if perchance, on that rarest of occasions, you might find that we got something wrong, please know this, and always know this, we're still going to be right.
We're always going to be right. Brother Lonnie, how are you today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good for a Monday. Got a little bit of snow this morning, so that was kind of exciting to see.
Only somebody from California would call that a little bit of snow.
I was talking with my show producer about that very thing, and she was talking about the snow they get down there in Mississippi, and I was surprised to find out they get a fair amount of snow down there.
Yeah, it depends on where you are in the state.
Yes.
But no, like I said, but as a guy born and raised in New York City, I went to bed last night and they're talking about snow. I woke up this morning and looked out the window. And man, that's not snow.
Well, there was something that was white on the banister and on top of the patio table. So.
Yeah, and that was about it. I said, So how was your weekend?
Winter so far.
Yeah, how was your weekend?
That weekend was good, man. How that is, ain't never long enough.
Ain't that the truth? No, I'm trying to think. What did I do this weekend? Did I even do anything interesting?
Well, there was a whole lot going on last week, so it made the reason that you wouldn't do anything interesting in the weekend.
Yeah, I don't think. I think I just had a whole lot of things that I put off, on my wife's honey-do list.
Mm-hmm.
Honey do this, honey do that. Yeah, so, yeah, I don't think I did anything really fun this weekend. I need to fix that. Johnny's becoming a dull boy.
Yeah. Well, all work and no play will make anyone dull. But wait a minute, you had quite a bit going on last week. I mean, I saw those cotton picket balls you went to, so I would not say that you've been a dull boy, at least not of late.
Yeah, well, there's always, when you do what we do, there's always places to go, people to see, people to talk to, events. But sometimes you just want to just decompress and just hang out with friends. You know what I'm saying?
That would be so much nicer. Just hang out with friends. But you know what we do for a living? We got to get out and press the flesh, shake hands. We got to kiss some ugly baby sometimes, in fact.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. I went somewhere this weekend, and my wife said to me, "So how was the event?" And my response to her was, "I handed out some business cards, so it was good."
Yeah. But see, it's all, you have to put it in perspective, and I guess it's all relative. One of my aunts came out to visit. I took her to one of the affairs that we participate out here in our nation's capital, and she says, "Oh, my nephew is famous." And I fell out laughing. I by whose measure, auntie? But then I don't think about it. A retired school teacher living in Monterey, California. I guess a little small town outside of Monterey. I guess that we'd be considered famous to her. I said, well, I wish I had the famous checkbook to go along with the moniker she's giving me.
Yeah, exactly. And, and I'm sitting there, I'm trying to figure out now where it was that I went on Saturday. And my wife, she said to me, "So how was the event?" And I didn't tell her anything about who was there, what was discussed, the program. My response was, I made contacts and handed out some business cards.
Well, man, that's because they all kind of run together. It's at the end of the day, it is work. People might think that you're out having a good time, but it is work. You always have to be on. You have to be mindful of what you say and what you don't say and what they're saying to you. What's behind the scenes, who's with this clique, that kind of thing. And it does get old. And, and that's within us who are in the Christian circle. So just think about those
Exactly.
in the world.
I did have my morning this morning was interesting. Um, so forgive us, ladies and gentlemen. You can see Jelani and I are friends. We haven't had a chance to have our usual banter, so just bear with us as we just be personal for a minute.
Yeah.
I went
Still bad.
right every Monday. There's a meeting of the Missionary Baptist Ministers Conference here in Washington D.C., and I'm a member of that conference. And let me tell you, you can count the Republican members of that conference on one hand, and you can count the the vocal Republican members of that conference probably on two fingers.
But wait a minute. You mean you're not like Kenneth McClinton and you haven't been kicked out?
Oh no! They're not going to kick me out because I paid my dues and they want the money. So no, they're not going to kick me out. Not from this.
Good.
Right. But what's funny is some of the guys are now starting to at least appreciate the fact that there is a different voice in their fraternity, and they're appreciating the need to have that different voice.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's still the hardcore ones who want nothing to do with me at all whatsoever, but there are a few of them who are now saying, I've seen you do Roland Martin show. I read the article that you were in the Post. I like the way you express your thoughts. So even if they don't agree with me, if I can get them to the point that they can at least appreciate the thought process, I'm making progress.
I think you're making great progress, Ralph. And here gives further credence to that. I had a phone call today, which was a follow-up phone call from last week with a prominent bishop who you and I both know, and I won't name on the show here, who is coming more to the forefront and wanting to step out and speak boldly based on truth, because his religious ideology lines up with his political ideology.
Right.
And it's forced him to the right side of the aisle. And you and I both know many men of God off record will say they're in agreement with us, but they just don't want to take the heat of getting out into the public square. Something took place in the elections on November 8th. Something's taking place with guys the likes of Steve Harvey and Ray Lewis and Jim Brown and Martin Luther King III and these and others who are beginning to speak up because they're feeling emboldened to do so. And there's always pioneers. So now you're kind of getting the rank and file going, wait a minute, those guys can do that, then I can certainly too. So I am encouraged. I think something took place November 8th. You and I are beginning to see the rumblings of it, and we tend to be on the crest of the wave there as the wave comes in.
Right. But Steve Harvey is back on the plantation.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Because he did a show the other day saying that he will never again speak with Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, the test for him was, and we said this, okay, we stepped out there. Can he hold on to his cojones, if I can be blunt, and take the stand? Well, he knuckled under just like Jennifer Holliday and the rest of them.
Right.
But the fact that he got out there, it speaks to others willing to take. I just had a high, I'm always talking about these high school friends who throw rocks at me. I have another high school friend, conversely, that she is beginning to get more and more emboldened. And just in the last 4 or 5 days, she's chiming in on every one of my posts. She's a school teacher out of California where before the elections last year, you'd hardly hear anything from her like a church mouse.
Right. But like I said, but it is good. I mean, like you said, we are on the cutting edge. As black men, as evidenced by, I believe, that 14% total of black men who voted for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
The next leading edge is going to be black women. And fortunately, we know a crew of articulate black conservative women who are more than ready, willing, and able to step up to the plate and carry that conservative message. Well, look, already we're coming up on our first commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't go anywhere. The Right Guys will be right back in just a few minutes.
Hi, it's your business diva here, Melanie Collette of Money Talk with Melanie on the Exceptional Conservative Network. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, At 10 a.m., we talk all things money on a global, domestic, and household scale that affects you and your wallet. You don't want to miss it.
Welcome to Lion Chasers, where faith and public policy intersect. And now, your lion chaser in the good fight of faith, Lonnie Poindexter on Urban Family Talk.
We're not saying that there's not instances where there's maybe racial injustice somewhere. This is America, and people are human, and there's sin in the world. He's the president of first. He's the first president to say that America is not a Christian nation anymore. But, we'll pray for our enemies while we defeat them.
You can't blame folks for messing up the city. There has not been an elected Republican in council in Baltimore City in 60 years.
In the co-captain's chair with me today, Reverend Ralph Chittams.
What's happened is the social justice movement has now been hijacked by a godless movement.
Don't be bamboozled, ladies and gentlemen. Frederick Douglass was a gun-toting conservative. It's not a black or a white issue. It's a God versus anti-God issue. And I know those would say, well, it's all rigged. It's all a game, Lonnie. Because I get that a lot. And they're the crew that has the bags packed at the train station waiting for Jesus to come back. He'll be here in a minute. I'm a trainer, no, it wasn't Jesus. But he's coming. Meanwhile, Rome is burning. The host of the Black Man Thinking radio show. Welcome to the show, Stanley Levy.
Good morning, Lonnie. How are you?
The core issues to build elephants out on the horn. We got to do away with the entitlement programs and the things that hamstring us.
And that's where the conservative viewpoints really resonate for my generation.
I want to welcome to the show the host of the Exceptional Conservative Show, and that's my brother Kenneth McClinton. Welcome, brother.
Lonnie, it's an honor and privilege always to be with your ever-standing audience.
Let your listeners be Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter. If Lion Chasers sounds right for your station network, contact Will Addison by email, waddison@asa.net. Encourage your listeners to be Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter and Urban Family Talk.
Hi, it's your business diva here, Melanie Collette of Money Talk with Melanie on the Exceptional Conservative Network. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., we talk all things money on a global, domestic, and household scale that affects you and your wallet. You don't want to miss it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Guys. Of course, I'm Ralph J. Chittams Sr., and here with me is
Lonnie Poindexter, and we are broadcasting live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. via SHR Media and the Exceptional Conservative Network.
All right, Brother Lonnie, America has lost its mind, or rather a certain portion of America has lost its mind.
Yep.
I'm specifically referring to what the left is referring to as the ban on Muslims coming into the United States of America. Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my.
So, all right. So let's get into this. Let's separate fact from fiction. First, there is no ban on Muslims coming into the United States. Do you agree?
I would agree. You wouldn't think that, though, given the jumping up and down the mainstream media is doing, and those who are throwing pots and pans on the left side of the aisle, as Pastor Mark Little would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely hysterical that this temporary immigration hold, ban, whatever you want to call it, is being portrayed through the mass media as a ban on Muslims coming to the United States. Now, and the funny part is, 9 of the 10 most populous Muslim nations have no travel restrictions to come into the United States whatsoever.
That's what they identified, and it wasn't this president that identified the problematic nations. It was the Obama administration that
Right.
identified the problematic nations that the new president is actually talking about the moratorium on.
Exactly. Right. It was Obama who listed these 7 nations as being nations of concern for being state sponsors of terrorism. But this thing is being now spun into a narrative of Donald Trump is banning all Muslims from coming into the country. Like I said, when 9 of the 10 most populous Muslim nations aren't on the list. Pakistan, not on the list. Afghanistan, not on the list. But these other nations where they have put in these travel restrictions, as you said, are nations that President Obama identified as countries of concern, and he implemented more stringent visa requirements for people coming from those 7 countries, simply because his administration identified them as state sponsors of terrorism. And now what's funny is when you look at Donald Trump's executive order or his executive action, whichever term of art you prefer to use, and then you look at the regulations and the law that Obama put in place, there is one word that is starkly missing from all of those documents. Would you care to guess what that one word is that's missing?
No, I'm going to leave that to you because I'm going to be the drum roll. Drum roll, please.
The word that is missing is Muslim or Islam. That word is nowhere located in Donald Trump's executive order or in the law, which, by the way, passed through the Congress with bipartisan support. Democrats and Republicans all determined that these 7 countries, Iraq, Syria, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen, are all countries of interest requiring more stringent visa requirements for persons coming from those countries. But now this is being spun as Donald Trump hates Muslims. It's absolutely crazy. So I'm just looking at this going, how did we as a nation get to this point?
We got to this point because there exists within the nation, and our limited listeners on the radio show are familiar with this, but I'll state just to state the lay of the land. We have a press that walks in lockstep with an agenda that goes against the very fabric of what makes America great. Our founding fathers invented the press, for lack of a better term, so that it would be a check and balance to keep everybody honest. But yet the press today, they're like a bunch, I got a meme, I think you might have seen it, that it showed a bunch of clowns getting out of a clown car circus. And the title of the meme says, CNN reporters report to the White House for a press conference.
Right, exactly.
It's hilarious, and that's what we have today. But see, I think common sense people can see beyond this, but the rank and file out there that are the passionately misinformed, it stirs them up into a frenzy. I guess my question to you, Ralph, is how do we reach the passionately misinformed?
Honestly, you just have to keep putting real food in front of them. You just have to, almost to the point where it frustrates the bejesus out of you. You just have to keep just repeating yourself ad nauseum. Do you know how many people were actually detained as a result of President Trump's executive order?
Only a handful.
109.
Yeah.
The people at the airports created more confusion by their presence, by their behavior, than the executive order signed by Donald Trump. Most of those persons who were detained, yes, for a couple of hours. They went through an enhanced level of scrutiny, and they were released into the country. The way the system is supposed to work.
Yeah.
But, somebody else, I don't remember who it is, it's not an original thought of mine, but they said, what Donald Trump did is he took the first step that Obama had made with making these countries of concern because of their state-sponsored terrorism, and Obama requiring, visa requirements. Donald Trump took the next logical step and said, wait a minute. If we know that these countries are state sponsors of terrorism, these countries don't have valid central governments who can properly vet their own people before they emigrate to the United States, we need to figure out who they are before they come to the United States. And the analogy a person used, which I thought was brilliant, they said, if you have a pipe that's burst in your house and water is flooding into your house, before you start to fix the leak, don't you first turn off the water?
Excellent analogy. With me being a plumber's son, I can relate to that up close and personal.
Right. So if we know that we have a problem with people coming into the country from these 7 states, because President Obama has already identified these 7 states as being states that sponsor terrorism, and they don't have a central government in place to properly identify these people, if they're coming into the country, doesn't it make sense to first turn off the water, fix the system, and then turn the water back on?
Common sense, brother.
Right. It makes sense to me. And like I said, I'm not taking credit for it. There's so much stuff that comes across Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, emails. I can't keep track of where half this stuff comes from or where even I've seen it. Because if I went back to try to find it, I probably couldn't. But that analogy to me just made perfect sense.
Here's an outtake from an article in the Independent Journal Review that talked about President Obama, as you stated, doing something very, very similar with those from Iraq. He said, President, let me get here, scroll down here. So you got these ads that scroll up. Why do they have all these pop-up ads? Well, you can't even get to the article and read it because you gotta click out all the stuff they put there. Buy this, buy that.
Right, exactly.
And why do they know why do they think I need Viagra? I just want to know, why did I get the Viagra ads? I don't get that.
They probably did a cross check with AARP.
Yeah, they check your age and say he's about due.
Sorry about that.
How old is he? He just had a birthday. Oh yeah, he's due. How they know?
I'll be getting those pop-ups soon too, because I've started getting my my AARP invitations. You can become a member. So if you don't get away from me with that mess, somebody's gonna get hurt.
Yeah, I'm only 50. Why are you sending this stuff to me now?
Well, well, like I said, I'll admit it. I'm 56, and I started getting the stuff from AARP when I was 50.
Yeah, that's when I started getting it.
Yep. So
And then,
I think it's a cross reference.
Okay. Well, I've got buddies that I grew up with on the West Coast, and we like to play jokes on each other. So we would send each other when we hit the big 5-0 application for Denny's senior discount card for Denny's diners in the mail.
Oh, so you send me that, I'm gonna say thank you.
According to the article, it pops up now. President Obama similarly banned refugees from a specific Muslim country due to security concerns, and back then, the left-leaning media and Associate didn't seem to mind so much. So it depends on what side of the aisle that you're on, whether they consider this thing egregious and just it's against humanity. And I've been getting folks throwing rocks at me, actually want to throw up the First Amendment as justification for their angst against him putting in this moratorium. And I go, well, last time I looked, the First Amendment has nothing to do with folks who are not legitimate citizens of the United States of America, first and foremost.
Right. Well, I have an article from CNN.
Oh.
Wait a minute. Listen. This is gonna blow your mind from CNN. In December 2015, President Obama signed into law a measure placing limited restrictions on certain travelers who had visited Iran, Iraq, Sudan, or Syria on or after March 1st, 2011. 2 months later, the Obama administration added Libya, Somalia, and Yemen to the list in what it called an effort to address, and I quote, the growing threat from foreign terrorist fighters. The restrictions specifically limited what is known as visa waiver travel by those who had visited one of those 7 countries within a specified period of time. People who previously could have entered the United States without a visa were instead required to apply for one if they had traveled to one of those 7 countries. Now, here's the kicker. There was no question in this that the person traveling to or through any of those 7 countries had to be a Muslim.
Right.
So, if a Christian had traveled through any of those 7 countries, that person was going to run into would have run into a problem under the Obama administration. Nobody said a word about this when Obama did it. And all Donald Trump said was, if we know that these countries are breeding grounds for terrorists, because we have to remember, we have had instances of Americans going to one of these 7 countries, being further radicalized, and then coming back. So it's not just people from that country, it's people who will travel to that country to get training, to be further radicalized, to do whatever. And so Donald Trump took it to the next logical step. We need to shut this thing down until we can figure out who these people are who are going back and forth and who the nationals are from these countries who are coming here in the first place. I mean, I'm looking in the chat room and Melanie says, "Oh, Ralph, logic." It's like, hey, like I responded back to Melanie, that's all I got.
And you would think that's all you need to work with, but in this day and age, oh boy, you got to have emotion, and I don't know what else. But anyway, it doesn't have to be logical; it just has to be emotional. There you go.
Right, exactly. And so, and then you have to love, because people are saying now, well, Donald Trump picked these 7 countries. No, he didn't. No, he did not. Obama picked these 7 countries. And they're trying to say, well, Trump picked those 7 countries because those are the countries that he doesn't have any business interest in. Wrong. Obama picked the 7 countries.
Hey, let's touch on that for a bit, because I hear that a lot as well. Okay, the guy is a billionaire several times over. Why in the world would he be trying to use the bully pulpit of the presidency to increase his coffers when he already has more money than he knows what to do with? It's flawed logic, but that's what they use. And then when you try to confront them on it, as I say to you all the time, they shapeshift on you, and then ultimately end up calling you names.
Right.
It makes no sense. Okay, I'm a multi-billionaire, so I become president so I can become a quadrillion billionaire. No, that argument does no. You become president, you take a cut in salary, you put up with all kind of foolishness and everything else because you care about the nation that has helped to make you successful, because you succeeded in it, so that you can lay something up for your grandchildren, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren.
No, exactly. And remember, he's not taking a salary.
No.
He is not taking a salary. I think Obama took a salary, didn't he?
Oh, of course. He took every dime he could get.
Right.
And the raises he got.
Right. Oh, can you believe that he got a $20 million advance on a book?
Yeah.
It's...
He took that cue from Billy Clinton. Bill got the same type of advances.
Right.
Hey, that's how he afforded that house there. Isn't that house over on Embassy Row that he's having?
Right next door to the huge mosque. Absolutely.
Yep.
And following in the Clinton footsteps, they are trying to open the Obama Foundation. So I wonder what foreign countries they're going to screw over.
You got me, brother. Hey, let's segue for a minute here. This kind of ties into what you're talking about. There's an article that broke in the Daily Caller about one of your favorite people, the mayor of Washington, D.C. And let me read the title for you. This will dial you in. If Trump goes through with threat, D.C. could lose $1 billion for defiantly remaining a sanctuary city. According to this article, our Mayor Bowser is going to remain a sanctuary city in defiance of the federal directive.
No. In defiance of federal law. Let's be clear. They are violating federal law by being a sanctuary city. Okay, keep going.
So it could cost this fair city $1 billion in federal money. Now, when I think about, and you and I both know this up close and personal, what's going on in Southeast D.C., where it's a war zone on the weekends for folk who happen to look like you and I, and she's willing to risk $1 billion of money coming to the city?
Yep. Yes, she is. Absolutely. And if D.C. loses $1 billion, where do you think they're going to go to get that money back?
Oh, yeah. Can you say increase taxes?
But
sure you can.
But here's the kicker, and this is what people aren't thinking about. D.C., by Constitution, is governed by the federal government.
Yeah.
If that $1 billion hit hits D.C., what's to stop Congress from revoking home rule, taking over the district, and doing what the Constitution says they have the right to do in the first place? People don't think about lawful in these situations. And the district is playing a very, very dangerous game of chicken. And we may very well lose the right to govern ourselves if the mayor and the council go ahead and push this envelope. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to take another commercial break. We're going to be listening to the information from our good friend and partner, Pastor Donovan Larkins. Don't go away.
Hello, I'm Donovan Larkins, pastor of Spirit of Life Christian Center in Dayton, Ohio. but I'm also the director of Shekinah Ranch and the Shekinah Ranch Protecting Innocence campaign. And today I want to just share with you some of our materials that we've developed so that you too can be part of promoting prevention, education, and safety awareness to youth. We have now our Protecting Innocence t-shirt. It's a powerful marquee or billboard that you can purchase and wear yourself that brings awareness that children need advocacy. It's a powerful, powerful piece. It's simply a picture of that with this marquee here with some additional wording on it, and you will want to be a part of that. We have posters that any of you pastors or any of you community centers, you may want to obtain some of these posters and post in the recreation center. It would be great to post this in the foyer of your church. It would be awesome for you to post this throughout the schools of your community. Involvement is what's necessary. Involvement is what makes a difference. We know that in order for evil to triumph, all that is necessary is for good men and women to do nothing. And then we have these little marquees. You can order 100 of them, you can order 50 of them, and you can pass them around to your family. You can pass them around at a family event or a local event that you're going to be at a festival or something. These are very handy, they're very cost efficient, and they make a powerful statement. They really make an impact. And then we have our Protecting Innocence ribbon. In this package, it's not only just the ribbon, but it also has a message, a safety awareness message, actually a tip. And the tip encourages parents to exercise scrutiny with the relationships that your children are involved with. Today, we see more and more children being victimized by teachers, by coaches, and by other people, other supposedly trusted individuals. And we have to prepare our children if we plan for them to be safe. And then you will want to be involved with the overall Protecting Innocence campaign, because we're making plans right now to build a retreat recovery center on our 150-acre campus where Shekinah Ranch is housed. And you can get this brochure, we can email it to you. That way there's no cost associated with it, so that you can learn how you can join our Protecting Innocence team. We are communicating with people globally, all over the world, that are interested in how together we can protect children from a dirty, evil childhood. We love to have you on board. We need your support. We want your prayers, and we welcome your financial contributions. Again, I'm Donovan Larkins, Shekinah Ranch Protecting Innocence campaign. And by the way, camps are coming. So call us so that you can register your child at 937-422-6029. We'll see you later.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Millman. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy, because the truth is not always pleasant.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Guys. I am Ralph J. Chittams Sr., and of course with me is the incomparable
Lonnie Poindexter, and we are broadcasting from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. via SHR Media and the Exceptional Conservative Network.
Absolutely. So we're here. We're talking about the travel restrictions that President Trump imposed based upon the 7 countries that Democrats and Republicans in Congress and President Barack Obama, remember, he was the black Democrat, the restrictions they placed on these 7 countries because they deemed them to be dangerous due to their state sponsor of terrorism. But now, these countries are on this list because Donald Trump hates Muslims and he doesn't have any business interest there.
Yeah.
I mean, this just goes to show you the absolute intellectual dishonesty of the media and the left.
You know, and they all walk in concert together. You'll no doubt have picked up on the latest and greatest from Mr. Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks Coffee, who announced that he was hiring 10,000 refugees to work at Starbucks in light of the moratorium that Trump announced. You know, these guys all walk together, and there's an ideology associated with it. I find it really interesting that a guy that's supposedly a capitalist would find it fitting to do something that would encourage immigration to this nation of individuals who want to blow us to smithereens. But that's what they do. And so I've announced, and for anyone that doesn't know about me yet, for the last 3 years I've been boycotting Starbucks for exactly this type of foolishness. They think they're too big to fail, Ralph. They think because they're a multi-billion-dollar concern that they can walk in lockstep with this stupid agenda, and they're above the fray. But, you know, we proved with Target in the boycott that started last summer that you pay a price for that. Target has lost billions in share value, and last quarterly report I saw about $500 million in profits because common sense people got tired of the foolishness and looked to shop elsewhere. So anyone listening out there today, I encourage you to strongly consider boycotting Starbucks for the same kind of foolishness that Schumer and the rest on the left are trying to push down on us, and lying about the president that's sitting in office today.
Oh, like that. I'm with you. I pretty much boycott Starbucks as well. But, you know, what wasn't it? It was Starbucks that said they were going to hire 10,000 refugees, right?
Refugees. That's right.
So
in the next 5 years.
I tweeted Starbucks, and I asked them flat out, if you have 10,000 jobs, how come you aren't hiring 10,000 American citizens?
Amen.
And, you know, and someone in one of my social media feeds said that she had a friend who lost her job, applied for a job at Starbucks. No, she lost her job, lost her contract. Her unemployment ran out while she was looking for work. After her unemployment ran out, she went to Starbucks to apply for a job simply so that she could pay her mortgage. And the people at Starbucks didn't hire her and told her she was overqualified.
Yeah.
But yet and still, you're going to hire a whole bunch of refugees who aren't even American citizens. And there are American citizens in this country who are hurting, who need jobs. We have veterans who are coming back who need jobs. But you're going to sit there and be a smug left-wing jerk. Yeah, I said it, a smug left-wing jerk. And you're going to deny jobs to American citizens, but you're going to hire these refugees. Not that I have anything against refugees, but charity begins at home. That's what I believe.
That's where I was raised.
Right. Charity begins at home. So he's going to deny jobs to American citizens, to American veterans, and then put a preference in place for refugees. Come on, man. That ain't right.
So the latest is he's supposedly trying to spin this and saying, well, he's going to give preferential treatment to the disadvantaged, in other words, Americans first. It's hogwash. This guy's a flaming liberal. Other things he's noted for is a supporter of same-sex marriage, transgender rights, for lack of a better term, and pro-abortion, for that matter. So Howard Schultz, you guys need to Google him. He's one that came out a few years ago and talked about if you don't like his stance on same-sex marriage, or Starbucks stance, but it's his personal stance on same-sex marriage, you can invest elsewhere. And so when I heard that, I said, okay, well, I'm taking my few dollars that I donate to Starbucks every week, and I'm investing it elsewhere. I would say that in the last 3 years, I've probably cost Starbucks a couple $1,000s.
And I would agree. I mean, every once in a blue moon, I get stuck going to Starbucks because I'm meeting a group of people, and they're like, oh, let's meet at Starbucks. And it's like, ugh.
Hey, Ralph, and when they say that, I say, well, you guys are buying.
Right. You know, going down, can I have a glass of water? You know, it's like, no. That's how you feel. If I don't sell, I mean, he told people to sell their stock if they didn't like the fact that he was pro-gay marriage. Okay. Yeah. I don't own stock, but I'm with you. I used to drink a lot of Starbucks.
Yeah, me as well.
I have learned how to make my caramel macchiatos at home.
Yep.
I have everything I need. But also, see, a problem with the boycott of Starbucks is you have too many Christians addicted to caffeine.
Yep.
Which brings up another issue. Christians shouldn't be addicted to anything, including coffee.
Including coffee, including a restaurant that serves coffee. I know many Christians who know Starbucks stands on issues that are against Christianity, but you'll yet still go there and try to justify it to me.
Right, exactly. You know, and so, you know, it's easy to get people to boycott a Walmart.
Yep.
You know, or whatever, because there are other big box stores. But there are some people who literally mainline Starbucks 2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
And his political position, his antagonism towards Christianity and Christians, they don't care about as long as they get their daily fix.
Yeah, he thinks he's what I call an enlightened elitist. He's a nut, for lack of a better term, but his arrogance will be his downfall. See, these guys think they're above it all, man. They think that because of the station in life they occupy, the millions of dollars they have in the bank, the millions of dollars that they make per year, and because of the quarter-over-quarter growth. But let me tell you something, man. All it takes is a handful of people united together who stick together and say enough is enough, and they'll begin to see their profits dip.
Right, but for so long, the left has been winning the culture war because the church hasn't been willing to get on the battlefield.
Exactly. And that's it. And see, it doesn't take a lot of it. It just takes enough of it. The Target boycott that AFA launched last year is about between 1.5 and 1.6 million today.
Right.
Well, the preponderance of Americans across America doesn't seem like that's a huge number. But you take 1.5 to 1.6 million Americans who say, these are the ones who signed the boycott.
Right.
There's probably another, at least that many million out there that didn't sign it, but are adhering to the boycott, not shopping there. Oh, guess what, folks? Once you change your buying patterns, few people go back to doing what they used to do.
Right. And that's real money.
Real money.
Because, you know, if you have, let's just say 1,500,000 people. When they go into the store, they're not spending $1 each.
You're spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
Right.
I know I was spending that much in Target.
Right. You go into Target, you know, you're spending $100. You go into Target, you start at $100.
Yep.
You know, it's my wife and I. We shop a lot at Costco, and we always say Costco is the devil.
Because it's addicting.
Because you can't go into those stores and come out with less than $100 worth of stuff.
No, did you see they did a special episode. God rest his soul. Bernie Mac did a special episode on his TV show about that one day. He got addicted to Costco. And he was buying so much stuff that he bought one of those big containers and put in his backyard just so he could store all the extra stuff he was buying.
See, but truthfully, that's what happens. I mean, and see, my wife and I, we figured out how to beat the Costco demon.
How do you do that?
We figured it out. How you beat the Costco demon is you do not get a shopping cart.
Ah.
So when you go in the store, don't get a shopping cart.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a shopping cart, all you can buy is what you can carry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you beat the demon of these big box stores. When you go in, don't get a shopping cart.
But wait a minute, brother. Wait a minute. So you're in the store. You got what you can carry in your hand, and you walk by those end cap aisles, and they got the nice people with the smiles on their faces and the aprons around them, and they got pizza they just heat up in the oven, and they want you to taste the sample. I don't have that kind of willpower. I don't know about you.
Well, you eat the sample and keep walking. Just say thank you.
I gotta see you in action. I don't have that kind of willpower. Whatever they're serving, I'm back down that aisle to the frozen food section loading up.
No. I'm the king of eating the samples and going thank you, bye, and just I'm out. But that's how you beat the big box demon. Do not get a shopping cart. That's my public service announcement for the day.
That should help somebody out there.
Yeah. So, Melanie's in the chat room laughing at us.
Well, she's probably, I'm sure, Melanie. Is this the Melanie from New Jersey?
Of course. The one and only.
You know
the diva.
You know she's in Costco.
Oh, of course. But then again, Melanie's so petite. If she didn't get a shopping cart, she'd probably only be able to buy 2 things at a time.
Well, she can only buy things for folks under 21 because anything that's alcohol related, they're going to card her anyway. So.
Yeah, I don't. Do they sell alcohol in the Costco's in Jersey?
I know the ones I go to, they sell it. Yeah.
Oh, because I know they got a special waiver here in D.C. because there's a rule that said that. Oh, she says no, they don't sell alcohol in the Costco's in Jersey. Because here in D.C. if you own a gas station, you cannot sell alcohol. So at that Costco in D.C., technically, on paper, the Costco supermarket is a completely different business entity than the Costco gas station.
Interesting.
Because they had to get around that rule about gas stations and alcohol.
Right. Well, I know California, they sell alcohol and everything else. As long as they can tax the bejesus out of you, they don't care.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that too. There is that too. So, how did we get into Costco?
I was talking about Bernie Mac.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
You started.
I started. Yeah, I missed that guy. He was hysterical. He was hysterically funny. So, all right. So there's no reason to get into a serious discussion. We're going to have to take our end of the first hour, top of the second hour commercial break in just about a minute here. So we can continue with the silly conversation, and then when we come back at 5 after, we can get serious again. Talking about this immigration thing, so people can understand the foolishness and the hysteria that the media is driving them, along with idiots. Yes, I'm being very disrespectful today. Chuck Schumer and Pocahontas.
Well, Schumer is now on his heritage.
Oh, really? Well, he needs to be known as something. But he's Pocahontas. The Muslim Brotherhood, Ellison, and all these other people are all driving this. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to take this break here. Don't go away. We'll be right back at 5 after the hour. See you in a few minutes.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best conservative talk. Sackhead John and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Thank you.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon.
From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital. Men of faith. Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show. It's a new day on New Day, Black and Red.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and you're Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. We are The Right Way with Shannon and Mike.
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Live on SHR Media.
And on TECN.
We'll be talking about all kinds of things.
From sports and politics.
To food and entertainment.
To money.
Family.
And anything else in between.
Community, holidays, all kinds of things.
It'll be great. Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Hi, my name is Willie Lawson of The Willie Lawson Show here on the Exceptional Conservative Network, Monday through Fridays, 9 a.m. They told me that I needed to be humble, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I decided to be awesome instead. That's The Willie Lawson Show, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. here on the Exceptional Conservative Network.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second hour of The Right Guys I am Ralph J. Chittams Sr., and with me, of course, is none other than
Lonnie Poindexter, and we are broadcasting from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., via FHR Media and the Exceptional Conservative Network.
That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, always remember that we, the right guys, are humans by race, Christians by faith, Americans by nationality, and conservatives by choice, because that is the only position that makes any sense at all. And
if perchance we are to, on the rarest of occasions, be found to be off point or wrong in any measure, please know this: we're still always going to be right.
Absolutely. I love that about us. We're always right, even when we're wrong. Yes. Okay. So I actually pulled up the full text of President Trump's executive order. And he starts out, he just lays it out there by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the Immigration and Nationality Act, 8 U.S.C. 1101 et sec, and Section 301 of Title III United States Code, and to protect the American people from terrorist attacks by foreign nationals admitted to the United States, it is hereby ordered as follows. That's what's called a strong opening.
Sounds pretty robust to me, my brother.
Yeah, and one thing that's killing me is the media is, I actually heard media pundits say, why is Donald Trump so obsessed with keeping his campaign promises?
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Tell me they didn't do that.
Right. Why, wait. Why is he keeping his campaign promise? I thought that if you campaigned on something, the idea is you were supposed to follow through. Or did I miss something?
No, here's the deal. Okay, let me explain it to you. Let me put it out there.
You gonna explain it to me?
Those who come from the political world, keeping promises is something akin to finding unicorns. But in the real world, where business people abide and where business people conduct business, do you know that if you don't keep your commitment as a business person, guess what happens to you in the short term? In the short term, you lose clients. In the long term, you go out of business. Oh. It's as simple as that.
Right. And see, also, well, there are a couple of points I want to make. The first is Donald Trump is a businessman.
Uh-huh.
He's not a politician.
Man.
He's a businessman. Now, the way they rolled this out, he didn't roll it out like a politician.
No.
He rolled it out like a businessman. See, a politician would have sent it to this committee, sent it to that committee, sent it to the House, sent it to the minority side, sent it to the Senate, had some joint commissioners look at it, and they probably wouldn't have done anything for 6 months, if ever.
Yep.
That's how politicians do it. But this guy's a businessman. Business people are about action. They're about getting things done. And if any one thing is going to cause Donald Trump more headaches in his presidency, it is that one fact.
No, I agree, man. That's in a nutshell what it is. When you think about his campaign platform, which was in essence his value proposition statement as a business person, and then once elected or chosen by the vendor, particularly based on his value proposition statement, he met the metrics set forth by issuing these statements in terms of this initial executive orders coming out of the pocket. And he'll meet that fulfillment. Did I meet your fulfillment? And typically what happens in business is the business owner goes, the client goes, yes, you did. And then he'll say, okay, then I need to receive remuneration for meeting that which we've set forth, that I've met those metrics. And that's how you conduct business. And so the American people would be the client, if you will. And I would say that he is well on his way to getting remuneration and getting another 4 years if he keeps on at this pace.
Oh, absolutely. If he, and what's going to happen though is at some point the media and the Soros-paid agitators are going to get tired of protesting.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump is not going to get tired of doing what he's doing.
No.
He's going to keep swinging for the fence because all they have proven, he's been president now for what, a week?
Yeah.
And he has not done anything that has not received immediate backlash from the media and the snowflakes.
Which is why he completely circumvents them by using Twitter. And I love it.
Right.
I hear folks, Lonnie, he needs to stop using Twitter because, he's apt to stick his foot. He can stick his foot in his mouth as many times as he wants. I know what he's doing. He's circumventing Twitter. And like I said prior, they're having a hissy fit because they don't know what to do about it.
Right. He's completely circumventing the mainstream media. But what the mainstream media and these snowflakes don't understand is that by picketing and boycotting everything that Donald Trump does, they have empowered him to do whatever it is he wants to do. Now, here's the difference between a leader and a fraud. 8 years ago, Barack Obama was elected president. The reports came out that the night he was elected president, Republicans in Congress had a meeting, and the subject matter of that meeting was, we are going to do everything that we can to make sure Obama is a one-term president.
Mm-hmm.
He went into the White House having Democrats controlling both houses of Congress, the Senate and the House. If you become president and the opposing party has made that sort of a statement, which was leaked, gotten out to the public some kind of way, Barack Obama should have done, when he got into the White House, exactly what Donald Trump is doing now.
Mm-hmm.
But Barack Obama is no leader. He's a fraud. Donald Trump is a leader. Oh, you're going to boycott and picket and demonstrate everything that I do? I got it. So what you're telling me is, it doesn't matter what I do, you're going to picket and boycott and protest, so I may as well do what I want to do. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Exactly.
That's leadership.
That is leadership.
Right.
I remember when someone tells you, and this is a mentor of mine, it's my big cousin, he's talking about leadership. He's talking about leadership in relationships, and he said to me, little cuz, I finally figured out in the relationship between you and your beloved, your love, he said, you're going to be the bad guy, whether it's something that you are part of or not in a relationship, so you might as well go on and lead. Because leadership has an amazing ability. Even if your beloved does not agree with you, she will respect the fact that you took a decision and took a stance on something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking here in the chat room. One of our denizens says, that's right, might as well go hard.
Yeah.
That's it. Go hard or go home.
Yep.
That's it. Go harder. And Donald Trump was like, oh, y'all want to play this kind of game. I'm a businessman. Let me show you how we play this game. Boom. And he dropped the bomb on him. And I personally think it's hysterical. And so now they're all running around because they can't figure out what to do, because this guy isn't playing the game the way politicians play the game.
Yeah.
I guess they never figured it out over the last 18 months that this dude isn't a politician. The same rules don't apply to him. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, don't go away. Time for our first commercial break of this second hour. We'll be right back with the right guys.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and you're Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. We are The Right Way with Shannon and Mike.
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Live on SHR Media.
And on TECN.
Where we'll be talking about all kinds of things.
From sports and politics.
To food and entertainment.
To money.
Family.
And anything else in between.
Community, holidays, all kinds of things.
It'll be great. Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Hi, my name is Willie Lawson of The Willie Lawson Show here on the Exceptional Conservative Network, Monday through Fridays, 9 a.m. They told me that I needed to be humble, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I decided to be awesome instead. That's The Willie Lawson Show, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. here on the Exceptional Conservative Network.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clan. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. But for those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Hi, it's your business diva here, Melanie Collette of Money Talk with Melanie on the Exceptional Conservative Network. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., we talk all things money on a global, domestic, and household scale that affects you and your wallet. You don't want to miss it.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your afternoon drive time show. I'm Ralph J. Chittams, Sr. here with
Lonnie Poindexter, and we are broadcasting from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., via SHR Media and the Exceptional Conservative Network.
Yes, sir. One other thing about with President Trump's administration, I think another problem people are really having with his administration is this is the first administration in a couple of generations that is actually changing the culture.
Yeah.
It's not just policy. You can feel a shift in the culture with this guy in the White House, with him and Pence and that whole crew, and the gnashing of teeth that we hear is the liberal side understanding that their string of wins is about to end. Because he's supposed to announce his Supreme Court pick, over the next day or two. And, I'm not going to make any speculation, but the list that he put out when he was running for president was a fantastic dynamite list.
Yeah, I couldn't squawk over the preponderance of those that are on that list. Certainly, it was better than anything that would be coming out of Hillary's camp.
Oh, please, come on. And so, like I said, what we're seeing here in this country is a culture shift. I remember when Barack Obama was elected president, I looked at a whole bunch of people, and when he was elected the first time, I said, understand, you think all these changes are coming? Uh-uh. Barack Obama is a part of the establishment. There's not going to be a whole bunch of changes.
No.
And a whole lot of Democrats were ticked off because he kept up most of the Bush-era policies.
Yes.
But now, going from Obama to President Trump, you can see there's a seismic shift in the culture that's currently taking place, and people they're freaking out because it's like, oh my God, this dude is actually doing it. It's amazing. And
no, I agree, and let me add to that for those that would think that the Mitch McConnells and Paul Ryans and so forth of the world, and Lindsey Graham's of the world would be able to stem the tide of the changes, and it's much ado about nothing. They can't put their collective fingers in the hole in the dike. It's about to burst. You and I have talked about on prior shows that Trump's team is not the K Street crowd. So the K Street crowd is going to look for other employment. They can't do that what I call K Street shuffle anymore.
Right.
There's a new sheriff in town with a different sensibility. He's neither Republican nor Democrat. I would say he might be closer to maybe some old line original Republicans going all the way back to the abolitionists, maybe in terms of his thinking and getting things done. But make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, it's not business as usual. So, yeah, they are throwing pots and pans. And we're here in the Beltway. They are ticked off. They don't quite know what to do with this guy. And he's going to handle, my opinion, Ralph, and you can chime in at any time, bro, my opinion, he's going to handle Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan is the young upstart that thinks he can handle Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is a cagey old fox with a whole lot of energy for 70 years old. And he's going to teach that young boy some lessons.
Yeah,
he's going to learn.
Like I said, Donald Trump is not your typical politician. And if you try to deal with him as a politician, he's going to eat you for lunch.
Yep.
That people are still trying. That if people who study politics are serious, they are going to be studying the campaign that Donald Trump ran in colleges for the next 20 years, trying to figure out how the heck he did it.
You're preaching.
Because he was completely out of the box. Everything he did, the pundits couldn't understand it, and that's why all of the pundits got it wrong.
And he did it for half the money.
Right.
For half the money that the opposition spent.
Do you know what the best thing, I guess my best moment from the whole campaign was when Donald Trump had all the reporters come down to the Trump Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was going to make this big speech about Barack Obama and his birth certificate. And then he had all these veterans on stage, and each one of them spoke in glowing terms about how great Donald Trump is going to be for the United States, and he's going to make America great again, and he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then Donald Trump comes out and says, Barack Obama was born in the United States, drops the mic and walks off the stage. I fell on the floor laughing. I was on the floor. He played them.
They were spitting nails. They were so mad.
Yeah.
And he did it at his hotel.
Right. And he played them like a bunch of chumps.
Yeah. But he got all that free press. And I got to admit this. I mean, I have to give you credit that you had more confidence in him winning than I did. But when I was in Cleveland last year for the convention, I saw something that really made me sit up and take notice. It was outside. They had an amphitheater out there right next to the ball stadium. And it's open area with seating where you can eat lunch and that kind of thing. They had put up one of those great big Megatrons or Omnitrons, whatever they call it. And I had 2 or 3 of those up. And I'm sitting out there and I'm listening to him speak. And I'm watching. There had to be, I don't know, a couple thousand people out there with me, maybe more. And probably 85% of them were law enforcement because they were there to protect those attending the convention, right? And Ralph, they did not take their eyes off that screen. They hung on every word he said. And I said to myself at the conclusion before I went back to Media Row, I can tell you one thing, he's got law enforcement and military in his pocket. I know every last one of them rascals are voting for him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Like I said, he just ran a complete, he ran a better grassroots campaign, honestly, than Barack Obama did. And the reason I say that is Barack Obama had one thing on his side that Donald Trump did not have. Barack Obama had a built-in racial constituency. That's it. Donald Trump didn't. He had to build his from the ground up, multi-ethnic, multinational, across the board. Every demographic is included in his. So he outperformed, honestly, considering the fact that he didn't have the built-in advantage of having a racial constituency. I could make a very valid argument that Donald Trump outperformed Barack Obama.
Oh God, yeah. I'm not talking about raw vote numbers. I'm just talking just the reality of what he had to put together and the number of votes that he got, considering the disadvantages that he was facing. A Democrat Party that was completely in the tank and cheating for Hillary. And then members of his own party that were actively working against him. John Kasich. Mitch McConnell. Right. Lindsey Graham. This is long.
Right. But here he is in the House because, he played the game his way. Which was a strange song to dance to at the inaugural, considering the first line. But now the end is like, bruh, why you... That's a strange first line for your first dance as POTUS. But hey, again, he does things his way. So we have to give him credit for it. He did it his way. He's in the White House and he's continuing to do it his way. Just to let you know, I'm still getting lit up in social media. How can you possibly say that what Trump is doing is a continuation of the policies of Obama? That's just ridiculous on its face.
Well, they won't read, so I'm sure you post things that point to what you're talking about, but they won't even read the links that you send to them. That's what I did.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You point out the fact that Obama listed these 7 states. Obama implemented, visa restrictions. The next logical step is to say, wait a minute, let's get a hold on all of this stuff. And it has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with Muslims. It has everything to do with the fact that you, Barack Obama, and a bipartisan Congress said these 7 nations have people in them or pass through them that are dangerous. And I, as President of the United States, President Donald John Trump, said my first job is to look after and protect Americans. When did protecting Americans for you as president become a bad thing?
In fact, that's what government is supposed to do. Protect the people. Allow the people to pursue happiness. Protect the people against foreign invaders. And stay out of our business. That's government's first order. So he just falling right along with. I got no problem whatsoever with that.
Right. Read our Constitution.
Yep.
Read our Declaration of Independence. Learn something, and then come back and let's have an intelligent conversation.
There it is.
But no, they just hate everything this guy. So somebody said that if Donald Trump could put Jesus in his cabinet, people would question his Christianity. You know, we know some really funny people, but that's true. You know, somebody else wrote, if Donald Trump walked on water, the news report would be Donald Trump can't swim.
Can't swim.
You know, it's like it's going to be interesting to see how long the media really tries to declare war on him, because at some point there's got to be an attrition, and something has got to give. And I'm just curious to see what it's going to be and when it's going to happen, when the press finally realizes, okay, look, this dude is president. We need to figure out a way to work with him. And truthfully, you know, the group of ministers that I hang out with on Mondays, they need to get to that point as well as Roland Martin and all the rest of these liberals that are all these talking heads. Instead of just rehashing grievances, folks need to start to figure out, okay, he's the president. How do we work with him to get the most that we can for our communities? To me that makes sense. You know, but if they want to fight, I guess they can fight. I think it's a losing proposition, but hey, it is what it is.
I agree, brother. I agree 100%.
So, like I said, it's just fun, you know, when I'm on the air, just to flip through, like I said, social media, and just what? Oh, did you watch any of the award shows? Like the Screen Actors Guild was on like last night or the day before or something, and there was some other, you know, liberal award show, and it just turned into, well, I don't watch. I didn't watch. I'm just going by what.
When did you start watching the SAG Awards?
I don't. It comes through my social media feeds that, of course, it turned into another Bash Trump fest.
Yeah. But let me just point out, you know, and this is probably obvious to all listening on the show, and I will be covering this tomorrow. Shameless plug number one. I'm only doing one tonight. On my show, Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter, which you can catch on UrbanFamilyTalk.com. They are so out of touch with mainstream America, otherwise known as flyover America, otherwise known as blue-collar, regular guy America, that they have the audacity to sit up there at their giant, I can't say that word I want to use. We'll talk privately on the word I want to use, but I won't use it on the show here. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
This collective gathering of them slapping themselves on the back, giving themselves awards, representative of nothing the real people would afford them awards to, and beat up on a candidate that the people who watch their stupid movies and the television shows and so forth put in office. So they slapped America in the face, and they're going to pay a price for it, Ralph. Trust me.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, there's a guy in Indiana who has an effigy of Donald Trump hanging from a tree with a noose around his neck.
I saw that.
So I guess in America, it's okay to hang a black man. I mean, it's okay to hang a white man, but it's not okay to hang a black man.
Exactly.
You know, because if that were an effigy of Obama, everybody would be, you know, talking about lynching and bringing up, you know, the images of slavery and everything else. But if it's wrong to hang a white black man, then it should be equally wrong to hang a white man. I'm just saying. Okay. Oh, and guess what dear old Chuck Schumer is now going to do? Chucky baby. He has decided he is now going to be the party of no, and he is going to vote against all of Trump's cabinet nominees.
Like I said, he aspires to be Harry Reid 2.0. He acts like he actually has juice on the hill. That's what gets me around. This guy walks around with swagger, like actually he can sway something. Last time I checked, brother, the GOP had both the House and the Senate. He's got no juice whatsoever.
The only juice he has is prune juice. and you know what that makes you do.
Yeah, you have no control over that juice at all.
Oh boy, oh man, I've gone off the deep end.
Prune juice. You have no control over prune juice. Prune juice determines when it wants to show up and how much damage it wants to do. You just need to avail yourself to the nearest commode.
Exactly. So Schumer, just keep drinking your prune juice and go find a place to sit down. Oh, here's a great story that you'll love. Al Sharpton is describing Jesus as a refugee in a sermon.
Okay.
No, Al. Calling Al a reverend, there's no analogy for how stupid that is. Al, Jesus was not a refugee.
Yeah.
Jesus traveled to the home country of his earthly father for a census. That does not make him a refugee. Stop lying, you fake preacher.
Last time I checked, he was a Jew living in the Holy Land. He was a citizen born in and of.
Right.
Okay, but this is Al, though. So Al, who's not really a preacher, not really a pastor, but still has the moniker.
Right. But I mean, isn't that what the Bible teaches? That a call for a census went out for each family to return to their country of origin?
Yep.
And Mary, being with Joseph, went with Joseph to his native country? Is that in the same book that you read?
That's the one I have on my shelf and the one I have on my desk.
All right. So how does that qualify Jesus to be a refugee? See, they're trying everything that they can to try to spin this into something that it isn't. We're talking about this temporary ban, hold, whatever you want to call it, on immigrants to the United States.
Yeah.
If you don't know if somebody just walked into your house and you didn't know who they were, how would you react, Lonnie?
I'm going to have where I can reach, well, I don't want to say on radio what I have that I would react to.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, everybody needs to know who's coming into their home.
Yeah.
And every country has a right to determine there is no right to come to the United States.
Yeah.
Nobody on the planet has a right to come to the United States. And if these snowflakes want to protest something, how come they haven't protested the fact that there are over a dozen countries which won't even let you into the country if you have even visited Israel?
Right.
You can't even have a stamp in your passport that says you have visited Israel for over a dozen Islamic countries. How come these snowflakes aren't protesting that?
It's the narrative.
Right, exactly. It doesn't fit their narrative, and nobody cares. Well, and then again, as you and I both know, most leftists don't have any respect for Israel anyway. So, why should they care? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another commercial break. Don't go away. Listen to this special message from our friend and Pastor Don Larkin.
Hello, I'm Donovan Larkins, pastor of Spirit of Life Christian Center in Dayton, Ohio. But I'm also the director of Shekinah Ranch and the Shekinah Ranch Protecting Innocence campaign. And today I want to just share with you some of our materials that we've developed so that you too can be part of promoting prevention, education, and safety awareness to youth. We have now our Protecting Innocence t-shirt. It's a powerful marquee or billboard that you can purchase and wear yourself that brings awareness that children need advocacy. It's a powerful, powerful piece. It's simply a picture of that with this marquee here with some additional wording on it, and you will want to be a part of that. We have posters that any of you pastors or any of you community centers, you may want to obtain some of these posters and post in the recreation center. It would be great to post this in the foyer of your church. It would be awesome for you to post this throughout the schools of your community. Involvement is what's necessary. Involvement is what makes a difference. We know that in order for evil to triumph, all that is necessary is for good men and women to do nothing. And then we have these little marquees. You can order 100 of them, you can order 50 of them, you can pass them around to your family, you can pass them around at a family event or a local event that you're going to be at a festival or something. These are very handy, they're very cost efficient, and they make a powerful statement. They really make an impact. And then we have our Protecting Innocence ribbon. And in this package, it's not only just the ribbon, but it also has a message, a safety awareness message, actually a tip. And the tip encourages parents to exercise scrutiny with the relationships that your children are involved with. Today, we see more and more children being victimized by teachers, by coaches, and by other people, other supposedly trusted individuals. And we have to prepare our children if we plan for them to be safe. And then you will want to be involved with the overall Protecting Innocence campaign, because we're making plans right now to build a retreat recovery center on our 150-acre campus where Shekinah Ranch is housed. And you can get this brochure, we can email it to you. That way there's no cost associated with it, so that you can learn how you can join our Protecting Innocence teams. We are communicating with people globally, all over the world, that are interested in how together we can protect children from dirty, evil child molesters. We love to have you on board. We need your support. We want your prayers, and we welcome your financial contributions. Again, I'm Donovan Larkins, Shekinah Ranch Protecting Innocence campaign. And by the way, camps are coming. So call us so that you can register your child at 937-422-6029. See you later.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Packheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk. Packhead Sean and Packhead Clan. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Packheads Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Guys for our final segment here. I'm Ralph J. Chittams Sr., and with me is
Lonnie Poindexter, and we're broadcasting from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., via FHR Media and the Exceptional Conservative Network.
Lonnie. You are not going to believe what I just found.
What did I miss out? What happened, man? Talk to me. Don't leave me in suspense.
November 19th, 2015, someone tweeted this statement. I'm going to read the statement, then I want you to guess who tweeted it. The statement is, November 19th, 2015, we must tighten loopholes in the visa waiver program, ensure passports can't be faked, and stop terrorists who want to exploit the system. Who said that on November 19th, 2015?
Let me just take a wild guess. Could it possibly be the previously exited President of the United States?
That was a good guess, but no, this is Chuck, the crybaby Schumer.
It was Chucky, baby. Oh.
Yes, Chucky, the crybaby Schumer said we must tighten loopholes in the visa waiver program, ensure passports can't be faked, and stop terrorists who want to exploit the system. See, he was one of those bipartisan congressmen who voted for it.
Shame.
Mental illness, my brother. Mental illness. It's crazy. But hey, our job is to just keep putting real food on the table in front of people, and hopefully at some point they will develop a palate to know the difference between dirt and real food.
There it is, otherwise known as the truth.
Otherwise known as the truth. Absolutely. It's and the more I look at this, it's really disheartening that Americans can be so easily led astray.
Yeah.
One of the things that friends of mine, we sit down and we look at each other and we go, we're not that much smarter, are we? It's like, come on. I'm not a rocket scientist. I've got a couple of degrees under my belt, but come on. I can't be that much smarter than these other folks out here who keep buying this tripe.
We've pondered on that upon occasion, and what I've come to is this. It's not that we're that much smarter, but here's where we differ from those who are on the bandwagon jumping up and down, crying the sky is falling, and all the other foolishness attributed to a progressive liberal worldview. We don't live our lives as victims.
Right.
We live our lives as victors.
Absolutely.
We see the God above who created us as the final arbiter in our collective affairs. We believe there is that God, and we believe in His Son Jesus, so we don't see limitations. We only see obstacles that can be overcome. Once your worldview shifts to that vantage point and you see things that way, it's never what they're trying to do to me and who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in terms of there's got to be some boogeyman out there. It's just that this is where I got to go. And if you are who I have to go through or around and over to get to it, so be it. That's what I'm going to do.
And that's it. We are not victims. Stuff happens to people all over the planet.
Yep. Life ain't fair.
And that's another problem. Too many people think life is fair, and too many people think other folks really give a damn about them.
Yes. Oh my God. I know we don't have enough time to go into this. This is a whole other show. This whole thing where Black America thinks white America thinks about them often. I can tell you from personal experience, having lived in South Orange County in Southern California, probably the most lily white area in Southern California, except for maybe up at the northern Oregon border. And white folks aren't hardly thinking of black folks the way that we like to think they're thinking about us in terms of what they're trying to do to us. No. I learned that white folks are so busy worried about their own affairs and with their own goals in life and what they're trying to accomplish. If at the most they're ambivalent. and Ralph, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that.
No.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
If you want to know what race is obsessed with race in this country, it's black people.
Black people.
Black people are obsessed with race. And unfortunately, black people are so obsessed with race that we still have to deal with the dark girl, light girl nonsense.
Oh my God, yes.
You know, here we are in 2017, and we're still dealing with light girl, black girl bull? Come on. That thing should have been put away 150 years ago.
I agree. But I'm here to tell you that I grew up in a generation where that was prevalent, and it has not left and gone anywhere. You see it popping up everywhere.
Right. You know, it's like the movie School Days with Spike Lee, you know, if you have not seen the movie, do not rent it, do not go out, order it, don't do anything, period. I'm just using this as a point of reference. Do not do anything to put $1 into Spike Lee's pocket.
Amen.
But in the movie School Days, remember, they had the wannabes versus the jigaboos.
Yes.
You know, and having matriculated at an HBCU, when I saw that, all I could do was bust out laughing.
Yeah.
Because that's still an issue. How can that still be an issue in the black community in 2017?
Because we, in our community, and I'm generalizing here, exist within a framework of victimization. We have deep-rooted insecurities, and for people who want to blame it on slavery, you're crazy. It has nothing to do with slavery. It has to do with covetousness. Covetousness? I always mess that word up.
Covetous.
It has to do with, Thank you. It has to do with that. When you understand who you are in Christ, you're not coveting your other man's wife or your other man's tractor, your other man's car, his home, or his house. I don't care who he is or what he looks like.
Right.
And with our own community, we have angst between dark-skinned blacks and light-skinned blacks. It's the craziest thing I've heard. And some of the most militant black folk I know are light-skinned black people.
Oh no! Well, when you say militant, you mean militant being pro-black or militant being
pro-black, militant, pro-black. The white man owes us. The fair-skinned brothers I know are the main ones jumping up and down, trying to be the next H-Rap Brown.
Right. Well, do you remember the big brouhaha that came out regarding the biopic regarding Nina Simone?
Oh yes.
You know, and this whole group of dark-skinned sisters were all pissed off because someone light-skinned was cast to play. It's like, whoa, back up a minute. You're mad because they didn't cast someone dark-skinned to play Nina Simone. And, you know, and then, of course, then people got even more ticked off when they cast a white man to play Michael Jackson. You know, and I was doing Roland show, you know, when this thing came up, and I said that all of y'all should be just completely apoplectic about the cast of Hamilton.
Yes.
Because ain't no one in that play black. I mean, in real life. So what? Are you only mad when it's light-skinned blacks that get roles that you think a dark-skinned person should get, or a white person who gets a role that a black person should get, but it's okay if black and Hispanic people get to play people who were historically white? You know, it's like, no. Stop playing these games with me.
And then when you get into these things, and you want to point to the obvious in the room, I say, what you're looking at, okay, Hollywood is overwhelmingly white liberals. And they're the ones that put forth the stereotypes, and they're the very ones who say they got your back.
Right.
It just continues on. It's this vicious cycle.
Right, and then you look at this stuff and you go, no, black people are way more obsessed with race and skin color than white people.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that white people don't have their obsessions, because they do, but when it comes to race, I think we black folks win that one hands down.
Oh yeah, I gotta say, some of my white buddies always tease us. So what's with you guys and the blondes thing? I don't get that, the blonde.
Right.
They got their own issues, but we're not talking about them today.
No, that's another show. We'll tee that up when we decide we want to have some fun.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's just. Oh, this is cute. In the closing minute, here's a cute thing that just popped up. African Union condemns U.S. for taking our people as slaves, but not as refugees.
Huh?
The African Union is condemning the United States for not taking African refugees, but for taking Africans as slaves.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Not taking into account the thousands of Africans that migrate and become citizens of the United States every year that never makes it to the news.
Exactly. And how about the fact that there are numerous Islamic countries which refuse to take any refugees from Syria, Iran, Iraq, and those other nations, and these Islamic countries say, oh, these people won't assimilate. They won't become a part of our culture. And these are practitioners of the same freaking religion.
Even they don't want, I know Saudi Arabia, as much money as they have, doesn't want, because Saudi Arabia is in a precarious, the ruling party in Saudi Arabia is one of the minority, as I understand it, sects within the Muslim community. There's all kind of tribalism and everything else in there. It's not just cut and dry.
Exactly.
They go, oh no, we don't want them there, because they'll upset the delicate balance that exists within their nation. So they get it, but we here in America, we don't get that.
Right, and we're just supposed to take everybody in, and their own brothers are like, nah. Nah, it's like he's not coming to my house. You take him.
You take him. I had Uncle Buddy last month. It's your turn to take Uncle Buddy. He drinks and he steals.
Right. Exactly. People are standing around the table playing rock, paper, scissors, trying to figure out where he's going to spend the night.
Yeah, everybody got an uncle like that.
But we laugh, but this is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
That here we have again, the whole, just a narrative of nonsense.
Yeah.
That they're going to spin what Donald Trump did into something that it isn't. It is not a ban on Muslims coming into the United States. 109 people were detained. Most of them have been processed and released, and yet still the narrative is there's a Muslim ban in the United States. All right, ladies and gentlemen, guess what time it is? We've come to the end of this segment of The Right Guys. Thank you so much for listening to us. Of course, I am Ralph J. Chittams Sr., broadcasting alongside
Lonnie Poindexter, and we are broadcasting from the SHR Media, the Exceptional Conservative Network.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and remember, we are humans by race, Christians by faith, Americans by nationality, and conservatives by choice, because that is the only position that makes sense. And
well, folks, if we just perchance happen to be wrong on that rare occasion, the one thing you need to know is don't ever forget this: we're still always going to be right.
We're always going to be right. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night. God bless, and we will see you tomorrow afternoon.